If you currently own the DJI RSC2 and are thinking about upgrading to the DJI RS3, then I'm here to tell you that yes, you should absolutely upgrade if you have the means available. If you're wondering why, then stick around because I'm going to talk about the 6 features why I think this is absolutely worth the upgrade. I don't even have 1,000 subscribers, so this should be obvious, but here's the obligatory preface. DJI is not sponsoring this video, obviously, and I bought these gimbals with my own money, so I'll be telling you exactly how I feel about them. Let's get into it. So the first thing I significantly like about this new RS3 is the touchscreen. Everything is just way more accessible, and you don't really have to use the DJI Ronin app, whereas with the RSC2, you needed the app. You still need the app to dial in very specific settings for the RS3, but right out of the box, you can get away without it. On the RSC2, you had to settle with this dinky looking 1-inch screen and a wheel on the left side to let you navigate through its menu, which was kinda tedious. I missed a lot of settings and functions in this RSC2 because I wasn't motivated enough to go through this menu. The touchscreen on the RS3 is such a quality of life improvement, as it's not only fun and intuitive to use, but it's also the same 1.8-inch screen that's found on the RS3 Pro. This leads me into the second thing I like about the RS3 that you can access right on the touchscreen, the portrait and custom modes. As you should know by now, TikTok and Instagram are encouraging creators to make vertical videos, hence Instagram Reels and regular TikTok videos. DJI has embraced this not only in their new Mini 3 Pro drone, but also their Ronin gimbals. It's a pretty nice feature to have, and I can totally see myself using this on the fly in case I have an Instagram Reel idea. I can't tell you the amount of times where I'm editing and I say to myself, damn, I really wish I had a portrait version of this clip. When using portrait mode, trying to track a subject at a tight focal length might be challenging, but I find holding down the lock trigger helps a lot. Tracking a subject at a wider focal length is a lot easier. In the RSC2, you had 3 modes you can customize in terms of how you wanted the pre-programmed modes to behave, like changing the follow speed and the deadband. The RS3 takes it a step further by allowing you to use a single axis and locking the other 2. I personally love this feature because one of my favorite gimbal moves is tilting up or down while moving forward or back. With the RS3, I'm able to lock my pan and roll axis, putting more emphasis on my tilting movement. The third reason you need to upgrade to the RS3 is that sweet folding auto lock feature when you turn the gimbal off. If you get the Pro combo that comes with the briefcase handle, walking around with this gimbal is a dream because it feels like a briefcase. Now, when you put it into sleep mode, the gimbal also auto locks each axis, but doesn't fold up. It just recenters the camera and locks each axis. I actually turned that feature off because you've got to wait a second for the gimbal to perform that function, and in a run and gun setting, I don't want to be waiting for anything. Obviously, the RSC2 did not have this function, so after putting it to sleep, I would just grip the pan and roll axis as a makeshift handle, like this. I'll probably continue to use that method with the RS3, however, I'm really enjoying the briefcase handle, so I might just hold it from there while the gimbal is in sleep mode with the axis auto-locking turned off. You might be asking, but Raf, won't your camera flail around if you don't lock the axes? Isn't that why DJI made axis locks in the first place? Yeah, you'd be right, but if you balance your camera correctly, then it won't move too much, so I wouldn't worry about damaging the gimbal or anything like that. The fourth thing that makes this gimbal great is Bluetooth control. This definitely is a nice to have, but not totally necessary. I still wanted to mention it because I found myself using it a lot more than I thought I would. You can control the camera before using a USB cable, but I hate cables. I think this is an ideal feature if you're using one camera and one lens exclusively with this gimbal. I personally would invest in something like the Tilta Advanced or Basic Ring Grip, where I could rig one camera with one lens to that setup, throw a focus motor on the lens, and then power the entire system with an external power bank or a V-mount battery. Speaking of Tilta, the fifth reason that I got this gimbal is unlike the RSC2, the RS3 is completely compatible with most of the Tilta products that were exclusively made for the RS2, specifically the Advanced and Basic Ring Grips. I remember using a Ronin M with the ring grip for the first time and found the footage you get is smoother and you just look more professional than holding a pistol grip gimbal. I've always thought of upgrading to the RS2 because I like the thought of the Tilta ring grip, and I'm super happy that I waited for the RS3 because now it's compatible. I'm just waiting for a sale from Tilta. Finally, the sixth thing that makes this gimbal worth the upgrade is this base plate micro adjustment knob. I don't actually know if that's what you call it, but you know what I'm talking about. It's this. This knob was a feature found exclusively on the RS2, but now they brought it to the RS3. In the future, I'd like to see this feature on all axes, each axis, but coming from an RSC2, I'm just happy that we now have this small but very useful feature in this successor. Now, I think the RS3 is better in every way than the RSC2, but there's been a couple things I've heard people kind of complain about, so I wanted to address these things quickly. The first thing is the battery grip on the RS3. It's smaller than the one on the RSC2, but I'm not bothered by it. In fact, I hardly noticed it. As mentioned, I am using the briefcase handle, which takes off a lot of the tension placed directly on the gimbal, but for the few times I held the RS3 on the battery and tripod stand, I still didn't notice any discomfort. So if that's holding you back, then don't worry, buy this thing without any hesitation. The other thing I've heard people kind of complain about is the lack of a briefcase mode like on the RSC2. I can't think of one time where I use this function in a professional setting. I think it looked like a good idea on paper, but real world practical use said otherwise. When using this RSC2, I would always hold down this trigger to lock each axis and invert the gimbal like this in order to get that, that briefcase mode and get those low angle shots. And now with the briefcase handle included on the RS3 combo kit, I'll probably just use that instead of, inverting the gimbal. DJI claims that their new algorithm increases stability up to 20%. And to my knowledge, there's no scientific way to prove this in terms of the facilities I have, but I don't think they're lying because in the limited time I've had the RS3, I do find that I'm not working as hard to get smooth footage as I did on the RSC2. Not saying you can't get smooth footage on the RSC2, it's just a little easier to get on the RS3. So if you're still using the RSC2 and are happy with the footage you're getting, then your upgrade path is debatable. But these 6 features I've listed, in my opinion, makes the RS3 a worthy upgrade. So if you're interested in either the RSC2 or the brand new RS3, I've linked both gimbals in the description. If I got anything wrong in this video, please correct me by dropping a comment below. If you're liking my content, be sure to subscribe and go watch more of my videos so YouTube thinks you like me. I'll see you in the next one.